So James, we don't know what's going to happen today. I'm already hearing reports. Democrats are feeling pretty good in some places. I got a Republican Senate candidate who's supposed to win easily, and I'm hearing he's very concerned, especially in the suburbs, that they may be breaking against Republicans. We don't know who's going to win. All right, so let's put that aside. That said, looking ahead to 24, what can Democrats learn about how they ran the campaign, regardless of outcome, how they ran their campaigns in 22?
Well, you're right. Let's raise outcome to one thing that drives me nuts. There are more people that are going to vote today that think that if the Democrats have power, they will defund the police, which is demonstratively not true, than people who are voting today that think if the Republicans get control of Congress, they'll shut the government down to focus cuts on Social Security and Medicare, which is demonstratively true. So I would criticize Democratic messaging and the media for letting people go to the polls with massive misunderstanding of what the consequences of their vote are. And I think that regardless of what happens tonight, we've got to be much better and much more focused on our messaging in the 2024 cycle.
James, who do you think has been the most effective Democratic messenger this cycle? If you had
Tim Ryan.
Tim Ryan?
Yeah. Shapiro?
Very much. Shapiro is doing something that he is tackling the crime issue, of which I begged the Democrats to do it, and Joe knows this, in the spring of 2021, but I was told the Ford Foundation would not allow us to do that. I don't know where the Ford Foundation ever got veto power over Democratic messaging, but they had it.
But let's talk about Shapiro for a second. He's Pennsylvania. And, I've had Democrats saying to me, why are we talking about inflation and crime when democracy is on the ballot? Well, isn't it amazing?
Governor.
It's amazing, isn't it, James, that the gubernatorial candidate in Pennsylvania has figured out how to talk about all three things at the same time.
Yeah. And when people say democracy on the ballot, people say, well, I'm voting. Okay? I mean, to some extent, that's some expression of democracy, at least. And apparently, they're going to be voting if the early vote. I don't know what to extrapolate from that. I don't know if anybody else does. But 2018 was historically high, and this is on pace to be higher, which may throw all the polls off, all I know.
So, James, what are you looking at tonight? We don't want to make any wild guesses, but you've got informed ones. So what do you expect to see House and Senate?
Well, I don't know, to be honest with you. And I'm not an election predictor. I've tried to affect elections, not predict them, but I'm going to be just like y'all are doing. I'll be looking at New Hampshire, obviously, probably Maine 2, Virginia 7, Virginia 2. All these should come in early, and at least we'll get a sense of direction of the night.
All right, Michael Steele.
So James, from one crusty old Paul to another, you and I have been in green rooms and campaigns over the years. What is it about this cycle that has made it even more unpredictable? I mean, because voters, everyone's sitting there saying the polls are this or that, but at the end of the day, the voters have been sending, I think, a very interesting signal when it comes to the democracy question, which was number 6 on your bingo card 8 weeks ago, is now number 1. The economy, for sure. What are the dynamics that you think that make tonight that much more opportunistic for Democrats, if you will, or even for Republicans?
Well, Governor, the fact of the matter is, when you have this turnout, apparently 2018 was the highest since 1912, is when we were going to right to vote. When you have this kind of turnout, it would make although I'm not an election predictor, it would make anybody skittish about certain assumptions. That's the first trademark of this that I see going into Election Day. Now, maybe the turnout will be more suppressed during the day, but it's ripping and running. It ripped and ran in 2020. I mean, I think the feature of our American electoral system in the last 4 years has been massive high turnout. I mean, unprecedentedly massive high turnout.
Yeah.
And what the consequences of that are, I don't know, because I haven't seen it before, and neither has anybody, unless you were born in 1912, which maybe I'm close to.
To Elise's question and Joe's, just curious what you think about the the gubernatorial race in Arizona and the Kari Lake's campaign.
From everything that I read about it, it's very distressing. I mean, she's very, very nutty, very out there. And people have expressed some, I don't know Ms. Hobbs at all, but people expressed some disappointment with her campaign. I hope it turns out right, but I'm not any more informed about that than most other people.